welcome to Sunday Storytime. I'm Jaden.
I'm Jada.
I'm Cameron. And I'm Hope. So, as we all know, next week is Shakespeare Week. So, for this Sunday Storytime, we are going to be reading one of Shakespeare's plays and a graphic novel. And this play we're going to be reading today is Antony and Cleopatra. Thank you and enjoy. Three men, Mark Antony, young Octavius Caesar, and Aemilius Lepidus, once ruled the Roman world. Caesar and Lepidus took care of the affairs of state in Italy, but Antony made merry in Egypt.
And Anthony was in love with Egypt's queen, Cleopatra. I could not bear to leave her, but news came that his wife, Fulvia, had died and his power in Rome started weakening. In spite of Cleopatra's pleas, Antony and his good friend Enobarbus left for Rome.
Antony and Lepidus resented the time the once noble Antony spent in Egypt and despised the necklace of his duty.
In order to strengthen his alliance with the two leaders once more, Antony agreed to marry Caesar's sister Octavia. Dun dun dun!
Next, the rulers set about retrieving their strength at siege, which another powerful Roman general, Sextus Pompey, had usurped during Antony's long absence. A peace treaty was signed and Antony celebrated later the night with his old friend Pompey. Antony felt like he had done everything now he could to retain his position. He felt left for Athens with Octavia.
But before long, news reached Athens then that Caesar had killed Pompey, imprisoned Lepidus, and publicly scolded Antony. Only Octavia might be able to prevent a war between her husband and her brother. She left Rome at once. Octavia chose to travel the distance without ceremony, but her modest arrival infuriated Caesar. She felt Antony had insulted his sister.
The news came that in Octavia's absence, Antony had gone to see Cleopatra in Egypt. War between the two leaders was inevitable. Dun 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 dun.
When Cleopatra heard the news of Antony's marriage to Octavia, she had nearly murdered the messenger in a jealous fury. But when I came back to her, she welcomed him with open arms. The reunited love decided to fight Caesar at sea, the galleries sailing together. Enobarbus begged Antony not to fight at sea. Antony was a spirit of fighting on land.
But Antony had ears only for Cleopatra. They left for their ships side by side.
Antony and Cleopatra's vessels sped swiftly across the Ionian Sea towards Caesar's fleet. The lighter Roman ships darted amongst the Egyptian vessels. Arrows and spears speckled the air.
Then suddenly, Cleopatra fled from the battle with all her ships. All might have been well, and Antony not followed her, leaving his own to fleet without a leader. Some of Antony's ships survived, but most were sunk by the Romans. Antony had sacrificed everything for love, his honor, his power, and his men. He raged against the queen. He felt so ashamed. He contemplated death, but in the end, Cleopatra won his heart again. Antony and Cleopatra sent a messenger to Rome to offer Caesar terms for peace, but Caesar would not forgive Antony, and he set will
sent word that he would make peace with Cleopatra only if he drove Anthony for Egypt or had him killed.
Oh no. Caesar also sent a cunning soldier, Thurius, to try and win Cleopatra from Anthony. When Anthony saw Thurius kiss Cleopatra, he suspected for her treachery. Once Cleopatra soothed Anthony's anger, he decided to fight on against Caesar. Much of Anthony's army had disturbed now, and Abarbus left. It was a heavy heart that Anthony went into battle, yet the victory that day went to him. Cleopatra and Anthony celebrated all through the night.
The following day, the battle moved from land to sea, and Antony manned Cleopatra's galleys with his best troops. Once more, Antony seemed assured of victory, but then, without warning, Cleopatra's boats yielded again to Caesar.
Dun, dun, dun. This time, Antony was certain that Cleopatra had betrayed him. He wanted her to die. Cleopatra took refuge in her tomb and sent word to Antony that she had killed herself. Anthony's rage turned into despair. All was lost now, his honour, his power, his beloved Cleopatra. Left without hope, Antony offered his faithful servant Eros to kill him.
To avoid the pain of killing his master, Eros turned his own sword up on himself.
So Anthony fell upon his own sword. Although the wound was fatal, his life lingered on.
As he lay dying, a servant came from Cleopatra to say the queen still lived. Antony begged to be carried on to her tomb. Fearing Caesar's vengeful arrival, Cleopatra would not leave her tomb. Antony was hauled aloft and died in her arms.
Caesar was determined to capture Cleopatra alive as a symbol of his victory. He sent Proculus to the tomb to prevent the queen from following her love. Proculus entered the tomb just in time to stop Cleopatra from stabbing herself. Then Caesar himself arrived. Whilst pretending to be Cleopatra's friend, he secretly plotted to parade her as prisoners through Rome. Cleopatra was not deceived by Caesar. She ordered her maids, Charmian and Iris, to fetch her finest robes. Then the guard allowed a farmer to deliver a basket full of figs. Hidden in the basket were 2 poisonous apes. Cleopatra put one serpent to her breast and one to her arm. As the apes delivered their venom, Cleopatra thought of Antony.
In death, Antony and Cleopatra outwitted Caesar and robbed of his trumpet. Yet Antony had once been the noblest of Roman generals, and in spite of their quarrel, Caesar mourned for him. Now he ordered the bodies of Charmian and Iris, who had also died by poison, be removed from the monument. His army attended Antony and Cleopatra's funeral with full solemnity, placing 2 lovers in the queen's tomb.
They would stay in both death as they had in love, side by side.